Hey guys, what is up? It's Duncan, and today I'm here with the tablet wars. Now, I'm sure if you guys have been following the news, you'll see that tablets are huge right now. Recently, the Apple iPad was announced. There's been the JooJoo. Dell has their Mini 5, and even HP has their own Slate. There's tons of tablets going on now, so I'm going to go ahead, compare all of them, what we know, what we don't know, and what we think they're really going to be all about. So it should be pretty interesting. Anyway, let's get this one started. So, obviously, the newest is definitely the Apple iPad, which was just announced a couple days ago. So let's go over that. Now, the first thing, obviously, is that this has been the Apple tablet. Everyone's been going crazy over it for a long time. But there's a lot of, well, not everyone's exactly happy with it. And it's easy to see why. There's a bunch of big downsides. No multitasking. That's a pretty big deal. It runs basically iPhone OS, and it really does. It's 3.2, and there's a few new features in the iPad's version, but that likely will be brought over to the iPhone and iPod Touch. So there's really not a whole lot new there either. But that said, we're comparing it against other tablets, not the iPhone. So that's not such a big deal. Some of the big pluses have got to be its access to the App Store. All of the over 140,000 iPhone and iPod Touch apps are available on the iPad. So that's a big plus. The 9.7-inch screen looks fantastic, and it's got a really nice resolution of 1024 by 768. Now, if you don't know what that roughly means, it's basically about the size most monitors are, a good amount of monitors. So you figure that that's about the same resolution as a normal monitor. That's pretty good for just a small 9-inch tablet. There are also some more cons as well that a lot of the others have, such as USB ports. All it pretty much has is a 30-pin connector, just like on any iPod. And really, there's no camera, and there's no SD card storage. So there's a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of good things. The iPad will be launched in March, sometime in March, probably late March, for between $499 and $829, depending on what size, if you want 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes of storage, and if you want 3G or not. So the iPad looks pretty solid. Okay, so the next in our tablet war has got to be the JooJoo. Now, if you guys remember correctly, the JooJoo was really talked about a lot, and people were like kind of excited. It was one of the first tablets, and it definitely was the first to be announced. Well, it's kind of gotten a little older now. We're still waiting on it to come out, and in the meantime, a lot of other tablets have come out. But that said, the JooJoo still has its perks. Probably the best thing about it is just the look of the device. It really looks solid. It has a 12.1-inch full capacitive multi-touch screen, which, well, the whole thing together actually is, personally, I think is better looking than the iPad. It's got a larger screen, less bezel, looks like about the same thickness, and so it's a really nice looking device. Unfortunately, it's a different kind of device, rather. It's a tablet, obviously, but it really doesn't have anything besides web browsing. If you guys know Chrome OS, which should be coming out by the end of the year, the JooJoo runs something very similar. There's nothing else to it besides the internet. When you turn it on, it opens up the browser, and all you have, instead of apps, you just have web apps, which are basically just websites. So really, it doesn't have a whole lot beyond just the web browser. That said, all these tablets are going to be mainly focused on the web, so that's not an entirely bad thing. Unfortunately, there are a lot of legal problems with the JooJoo, as well as the fact that it's the same price as the iPad, or at least the same price as the base iPad, at $500. So really, unless you really don't like the iPad and you just think that all you're ever going to do is web browsing, I really don't think the JooJoo is probably going to be the right one. But it's still not a bad device, and if you are only doing web browsing, it looks like one of the best. Okay, so the next tablet has got to be the HP Slate. The HP Slate actually looks pretty impressive, I gotta be honest. It's going to be a 10-inch full multi-touch capacitive screen, just like the rest, but it's going to be a bit different. it's going to, instead of running like the iPhone OS or something specifically for a tablet, it's actually going to run full Windows 7. And that's got a lot of benefits and a lot of downsides. The benefits, obviously, are that it runs anything that a computer would run. So it's a lot closer to a normal computer than something like the iPad. Obviously, you can pick any browser you want. Obviously, it's got Flash support, and it's got support for one of the thousands and thousands of Windows programs and apps are out there. So you know that you're going to be covered there. But some of the downsides are that Windows 7, while it's taken strides to be a better better tablet device, it's still not made specifically for tablets. It's got a new on-screen keyboard. A lot of the icons are now bigger and easier to touch, but it's still an OS that's made for a keyboard and for a mouse. So, you're going to run into a lot of smaller dialogues and different things that obviously it's not going to be made to be a tablet. But the HP Slate does have a lot going for it. Well, we don't know all the specs right now, so I can't, we don't know battery life and some other things like that. But it does have some cool features. It has a camera, which is something the iPad doesn't. We don't know for sure what processor it's going to run, but most likely it's going to be an Intel Atom, which just purely off the clock speed is going to be quite a bit faster than the iPad. But considering that they're running different things and a lot of other things like Windows 7 is probably going to be a lot bulkier than iPhone OS, it's going to kind of come down to once we actually see them and actually use them. But I kind of got to give the edge. The Atom's a pretty decent little chip, so it probably will do pretty well. Anyway, so the HP Slate, we don't know the price yet, but it's rumored to be $500 or $600 once it comes out sometime later in the year. Now, if seeing the Slate for the exact same price as the iPad, I don't know, the HP Slate looks pretty impressive. I like the fact that I can run full Windows 7 on it, but, it might have some downsides, so we'll have to just wait and see. Okay, so the last tablet we'll be covering is a bit different than the others, and it is the Dell Mini 5. Now, if you know the Dell Mini 5, it's almost less of a full-size tablet than it is maybe like something along the lines of a very large iPod Touch. It's also got some different features, like it actually works as a phone, although it still is 5 inches, so it would be pretty large. But it does still function as a phone. But the Dell Mini 5 should be pretty cool little device. It runs a custom Dell version of Android, 1.6, but they put their own custom skin, which looks quite nice. It uses a 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, which is a pretty powerful processor, and it should get the job done very nicely. There's a lot of cool things. Like I said, it has a phone built in, but the main purpose of having 3G is to actually use it as for web access. So it's going to be a smaller device. It's not going to be, still not going to be pocketable, but it's going to be decent enough where you don't, need, it's not going to be large where you need a bag or whatever. You can have it, toss it in a large pocket maybe, or like in your bag or something. I don't know if that makes any sense, but one of the really cool things I like about the Dell Mini 5 is that it runs Android, and I think Android has a lot of potential on tablets. It has a lot of apps, pretty much only second to the iPhone OS, and all of these apps are going to run really nice on the nice 5-inch screen. Now it's not going to be quite as good compared with the screen. Obviously, if like the iPad, you've got the full nice 10-inch screen. With the JooJoo, you've got a 12-inch screen. So going down to a 5-inch screen, it's not going to be quite as good of an internet experience. That said, though, it's still going to be pretty nice. 5 inches is quite a bit bigger than what you would think of in like an iPhone or something like that, or a Droid. So the Dell Mini 5 has a lot of good things. Now, one thing we do not know is the price. Now, I don't know why, people have been saying stuff like it's going to be $1,000. Now, if it was $1,000, I wouldn't look twice at it. But I really don't see where they're coming from. The Mini 5, it's going to be a very small device. It's not like it's using anything revolutionary. It's using pretty much standard parts. So I don't see why it should be any more than $300, maybe $400. But we'll see. Anyway, guys, those are my 4 tablets that I think you definitely look for. It's really hard to pick a winner considering that not one of them are out yet. So, we're going to have to wait and see some hands-on time and actually start to use them a bunch. But looking at them now, the iPad looks pretty strong. The JooJoo could have its niche, but I don't really see it really catching on. The HP Slate looks really, really pretty good to me. I mean, I like the idea of running full Windows 7 on a tablet. And the Dell Mini 5 could be a bit of a different kind of animal, but really has a lot of potential. I really think that it could be a good device. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Are you interested in tablet computing? Are you planning on maybe buying one of these tablets this year? Or are you going to maybe wait until next year, see how all this plays out, see what the market's headed? Definitely let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching.